PS4.
Hello YouTube land and welcome to Force In Unison Live, episode 26. I am your host Dantes, and tonight we're gonna talk about God of War Metacritic score. Tonight we're gonna talk about the big surprise of Shenmue 1 and 2 coming to the PS4 and Xbox, but no Switch version. And the best part, of course, is that we're gonna have a little bit of fun tonight. Yeah! And of course, joining me, like always, Caliones! How you doing, Caliones?
Hey, how you doing, Dantes? How you doing, everybody? And yes, we're gonna have a little bit of fun on this one. We have not quite as many news as we had yesterday for the Getting and Get Out Nintendo podcast, but we have pretty big news and pretty big releases as well. A really big game that just came out that Dantes is dying to talk about and get his hands on. Well, Dantes, just go ahead and take it away so we can get started on this.
So let's do our rigmarole, shall we? I want to welcome everybody to Force In Unison Live, episode 26, right here at the Force In Unison Gaming channel. Please remember to subscribe, like, and comment so you can make these two crazy MFs happy. Also remember, we do have a Nintendo podcast that happened yesterday. It's called the Get In and Get Out Nintendo podcast. You can get that podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes for free. Rate us over there so you can show us some love. Also, we do have a Facebook page called @Force In Unison Gaming. And finally, and Dantes says finally, go to chiguerosnews.com and switchcore.net and give some, give some clicks and love to my boy Caliones. Hey, old school. With all that said, Caliones. Well, yeah, on the chat, yes, remember guys, we are moved Force In Unison Live to Sundays. Now, every Sunday, we'll be doing Force In Unison Live instead of Tuesdays. But streaming Wednesdays stays on Wednesdays. So, next Wednesday, you can look for Caliones. Of course, Xenoblade Mondays. Remember that, too. We got one more episode. I'm in the borderline. Should I make 2 more episodes of Xenoblade Mondays? We'll see, Caliones. Last one is, it's been getting some views. The top 5 annoying blades. So, we'll see if I move on to do something else. But, anyway. With that said, Caliones, are you ready? I said, are you ready? For the no one in attendance and the people watching around the world, let's start, Caliones, because this is not Reggie's Hot Topics, but it is Force In Unison Hot Topics of the Week. So go ahead, Caliones. What is the first piece of news?
First thing I just want to clarify that I'm not writing for SwitchCore anymore. It's because that website, it kind of like went down under a little. They're going to be dedicating themselves to their YouTube channel, and we already have this YouTube channel, so I'm not going to be splitting between 2 of them.
That was my bad. I went through my rigmarole, automatic rigmarole. So
yeah, I just put on the chat that I'm going to be writing. I mean, of course, to For Chiguro News. I guess WordPress.
So
maybe.
What up, Greenie? What up, Dantes? What up, Toys More Club? What up, Dark Red Okami? LG Gaming was also around. Thank you for joining us tonight, chat. But go ahead, Caliones, because I'm ready to talk about the first piece of news.
Okay, so the first piece of news, and this is one where if you guys go to the Reset era, they had a whole thread, which I think it's already gone over like 200 pages, and that's like 50 posts per page. And that's how the Metacritic score of the game was going up, was going down. It was going to 95, we went down to 94, went back up to 95. And we're talking about the biggest release of the year so far. And I'll say, the biggest release for any console. And currently, my game of the year, and that's God of War. So, Dantes, how do you feel about finally Sony releasing God of War in 5 days? That's going to be on the 20th. So we already got all the reviews out. It's scoring a 95 currently. And I'm not sure if the Edge review has been posted. So that's going to be the one that I believe, if it scores 100, if it's not on there, it could potentially bring it up to close to a 96. But Dantes, how excited are you about God of War and the scores it's been getting?
Let's put a little bit of gameplay of God of War right there in the background as we speak to it. So, Caliones, 95. Could this be Sony's best exclusive for the PS4? Well, we still have The Last of Us to go. We still have Spider-Man to go. And we still have Death Stranding to go. So, Sony, hey, Ghost of Tsushima, I forgot. And Days Gone. So, Sony it's packing the heat in the exclusive department, Caliones. You have to admire that from Sony. I am really happy about the game and the score that it's getting. I think the game looked great from the start. Right now, you can see the graphics look great from the start. The battle system, they changed it up completely. So I think this is a reinvention of the franchise, which is something Nintendo does really well with their franchise, with their reinvent. So I think that's something Sony to be proud of. And Cory Barlog just showed he was the director of God of War 2. A lot of many people wonder, could he be just a one-hit wonder, because that was his biggest hit, God of War 2. He left Sony, came back to Sony, and I think he even stated it himself that leaving Sony really helping expand his horizons and help him develop this God of War that now is getting such amazing scores. So Cory Barlog could become all-star for Sony moving forward, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But, Caliones, do you have some snippets of the Metacritic that you want to talk about, or you want me to do it?
Well, just going through here, for example, we had Giant Bomb. They said, this is from their excerpt, perhaps most importantly, I didn't know how much more ground could be covered with Kratos as a character. The new Nordic mythology obviously gives Sony Santa Monica plenty of new material to play with, but it's the new Kratos that's responsible for the game's most striking evolution. God of War grew up, and the result is the best entry in the series. And this is, they gave it a 100 on there. This is another one from I'll give from Dual Shockers that, once mastered, God of War's combat is one of the most rewarding I have tried in a long time. Kratos becomes a hurricane of death and destruction, blocking, shield bashing, slicing, dicing, spinning around, and throwing his axe at an enemy further away while pummeling closer monsters with punches and kicks, and then recalling the weapon to catch two more Draugr in the back before going in for one of the several spectacular finishes. So I guess it sounds more like Kratos has gotten the powers of Thor with the hammer and all of that. But this one from Polygon, another 100, they said God of War is, in a single word, holistic. Every aspect is excellent on its own, but more importantly, it all serves and accentuates the larger vision. Some diehard fans may fear this isn't really God of War. I suppose they're right. It's even better. Okay, so with this, that Polygon said, yes, if you are a longtime God of War fan, you already know how the game works. You know the formula, you know the battle system, and it is formulaic in a way. It is already a specific type of game. But if you look at this one, it's completely different. Yes, they're adding a companion, but the companionship is not the only difference. It's the camera, is the angle, is the way he plays. He doesn't even jump on the game. That's something that they took away, from him. But somehow it makes the combat even more personal and even better than before. And that's something that the series had been known, for a long time. The action, the movement, the combos, and all of that. But yes, just by doing it this way, it gives it a more personal feeling to the characters and to the control that you have over the characters. And at the same time, just adding that storyline, which everybody's been raving. I haven't played the game, and you haven't played it either, because it hasn't even been out yet. But by the way everybody is talking, it's gonna be an amazing journey, gameplay wise and story wise, and that's why it does have currently a 95 Metacritic score, and it is the game to beat when it comes to the Game of the Year awards and competition. It is above any other one. The one that you could consider perhaps was Monster Hunter World, which was ahead on the race, but this one has taken over. It's going to be a tall order, and it's really hard for me to see any other game, maybe like Red Dead Redemption 2, that could potentially surpass it on the race, or maybe something else, some other surprises.
Spider-Man and Smash, you're forgetting your baby Smash, so you never know.
So yeah, but Smash, it's going to be the same format. It's still going to be a fighting game. It's still going to be the same elements. It's not going to be a complete change like this God of War has done from the other one. So even though it's not really a knock, but there's already a formula for that fighting system, and for a fighting game that you can't really change, because if you change too much, then it starts being like a smash game. So that's probably going to be the only knock against it, is that is in a way is going to feel like the other ones, because they have to keep that frame. They have to keep the type of game that it is. So it's not going to be any different. But yeah, I mean, it's God of War so far the game of the year.
So to add to that, there's still other, but let me give a low score, because Calenos gave a lot of hundreds, but we want to be fair. We want to say also the people who gave it, and the lowest score has only been 80, so 8.0, which is great. I mean, that means that all greens, all great scores. 8 is still a great score, so please don't go to this person trying to kill him because he gave it an 8. Don't be like Nintendo fans. Anyway, with that said, the only thing is, Twin Finite said that despite all complaints about Atreus and the game's imperfection, this is still easy game to recommend to anyone with a PS4. God of War marks the glorious and bloody return for everybody's favorite Spartan. And with the new dive into Norse mythology, there's still plenty of adventures to look forward to as the series evolves. So basically the complaint of this person is Atreus, which is Kratos' son in the game, the companion. I don't know, maybe, again, a lot of the good scores, none of them complain about Atreyu, but maybe this person couldn't get Atreyu to do what he wanted to do. I mean, companion characters can break a game. The Last Guardian did suffer because of, Trico sometimes could not control great, and it was really hard to handle and make him do what you wanted to, and that was a lot of complaining in that game, and that game had extreme scores. It was like you either loved it or you hated it, where God of War is more universally acclaimed game, right? So I will say this, and I'll let Caliana chime in, but I'll say this, like, I am pumped for God of War. I liked it from the first moment that it came out. I think Sony's firing like they do every generation. At the end of the generations when they start kicking the most ass, and they're showing that right now. And God of War, and Calianos knows that I've been a fan of God of War for many years. I have every plat of every God of War game ever created, except the remaster of God of War 3 for the PS4. But because I have it on God of War 3 on PlayStation 3, I have the plat for that one. So I have all the God of War plat accession, even the PSP games, Caliones. I have the plats for those. So I'm looking forward to it next week. I'm going through Crash right now. Hopefully I can get done with Crash pretty soon. Today I spent a couple of hours cursing because there was a stage that I almost pulled my hair out to get the time score, the gold time score to be able to get the plat, and that was the stage that everybody says is the stage that stops a lot of people from getting the plat. But I did it. I did beat the stage today in the time score. So we'll see if I continue and get the plat for that. But anyway, I don't want to move away from God of War. But Caliones, anything to add about the gameplay or anything to that extent? Are you looking forward to this? I know you don't have a PlayStation 4, but son, I think you're gonna have to get a PlayStation 4 at some point, because all this exclusive Spider-Man alone, which is my most hype game in the year, deserves you to buy a PlayStation 4.
Yes. I mean, even before the 95 Metacritic score that it currently has, I saw the game. I like the changes. I like the game. I'm not a big fan of the original God of War games. They're still good games, but if you go from one to the other, they feel, of course, they feel similar. There wasn't, like any big changes. And of course, once they released Ascension, it was just, they were releasing a God of War game just to release a God of War game. But they didn't put the passion into the game. So that's why I'm glad that they stepped away, from the franchise. They went back into it and they made these changes because, to me, God of War, how it is right now, it kind of transcends all the original God of War games and makes it, what I believe will be like a 10 plus million seller when it comes to, like copies. So this is going to be one of those games, like, much like Breath of the Wild and Super Mario Odyssey for the Switch. This God of War is going to be for the PS4, like those evergreen games where we're going to see maybe 10%, 15%, 20% of the PS4 owners buying it. And more so the PS4 Pro owner, because they say that this game on the Pro and a 4K TV looks absolutely beautiful. Yes, it plays at 30 frames per second and not 60 frames per second, but that still doesn't take away with how beautiful it is, how the combat is. So don't knock the game. It's the same way why Breath of the Wild is 30 frames, because they have a game world that is so big that they have to make concessions on where and how they wanted to maneuver. So they're not going to try to do 60 and have the game hovering at 40 45 frames per second or something like that, where it's going to be suffering. So I'm glad that they stuck it to 30 and they kept it that way. If you want to hit like the 4K and those graphically. So yes, if I were to buy a PS4 right now, probably the first game that I would get would be the God of War game for it. And next one, if it were available, would be the Spider-Man game, because I really want to play that one as well. So I believe this year, more so than any other year before, is when Sony is releasing the games that would make me buy the console and play it. Yes, I still will go back to play, Persona 5 and Nier Automata and those games, but as far as making me go out to the store, buy it, and play it first, God of War and Spider-Man probably would be those games to me.
Yep. Okay, that's good, Caliones. Hopefully you get a PlayStation. You can join again, since we can play a lot of multiplayer games, and maybe that one game could be that Walking Dead game that we'll talk about later on, that could make us play together, making we can stream it in the channel. But with that said, the only thing I want to add is that also the God of War is kind of like a semi-open world, so it is a big world. It's gonna take around 30 to 40 hours, 30 hours to complete, I believe, for 25 to 30. But if you want 100%, you're gonna get to 40 to 45 hours. So big game, Caliones, the biggest God of War ever created. But with that said, since we're talking about God of War, jump into the next piece of news, Caliones.
Okay, so with the next piece of news, basically this is Cory Barlog. He is the God of War director. He was talking about a moment during the development where they thought it was gonna everything was gonna fall apart. Like the game was not gonna be as good as it is. It was gonna be subpar, or that it may be either canceling the game or something. But basically he was talking about it, and he said that there was a moment in the middle of the project in which everything was falling apart and the team was struggling to meet some deadlines. At that time, developers couldn't get certain scenes to work because they couldn't crack the code controlling the positioning of the camera, which in the finished game seamlessly follows the action without cuts. At that moment, Barlog spent time by himself thinking, what am I doing? I'm going to screw this up. I'm going to be the person who took a franchise and brought it down to its knees. So, it was mainly with the camera and how the camera moves around the characters. It's not, I mean, from what I've seen, it's not like the Mario 64's camera where you can move it by yourself and however you want. It's going to be how the action moves. The camera follows you, whichever way you turn, it follows you. So at the end product looks great. It follows the action great, but that's what they were suffering with the most. But the other thing that he stated is that he would like to work on his own IP. So Dantes, my question is, like you said, he left, he came back, he worked on this God of War. Currently, has a 95 Metacritic score. So, do you think Sony should give Cory Barlog control of his own franchise?
Okay, so two things. So I think the first, Cory Barlog, where the game almost fall apart because this game is a continuous shot. The camera is always panning behind Kratos and it never changes. Supposedly, based on the reviews, there's barely any loading, Scaliones. So basically, it's just one-shot camera all the time. So it is kind of innovative in a way of how you look at the game. And again, the camera being so close, the action's going to feel so weighty as you hit. It's going to feel like a little bit like The Last of Us. When you hit someone in The Last of Us, Caliones, you kind of feel it. It feels disturbing sometimes. And I think that's going to happen in this game too. The other piece is this kid, this Cory, is not a kid, sorry. This guy is, I believe, the next all-star for Sony, like the Neil Druckmann. The guy that you want to give him frames and hey, do whatever you want and see what happens, right? So to me, he already wrote, supposedly he's already written portion of God of War 5, so that's great. I think that means that he can, be more of a producer role in the next God of War. Just help the team, lead. They already have the engine, Caliones. They already have the code in place, which is the hardest part in the game, and they could really crank out another God of War in the next 4 years, right? But with a different team as Santa Monica Studios, and Corey could lead a different team creating a new IP. And Sony, if there's something you have to give credit, do, Caliones, compared to any company, that includes Nintendo, the company that gives you the more new IPs typically is Sony. They try stuff new. In the last, 10 years or so, we're back. Gameplay finally is over. In the last 10 years or so, Sony has delivered you new IPs like Uncharted, Infamous, Last of Us, Days Gone, Death Stranding. That's a lot of new IPs, Caliones. So Sony has delivered a lot of new IPs, and if there's a company that will give a chance to Corey to do a new IP, would be Sony. And if you know the story, Santa Monica was working on a new IP, but the game was not coming up together, so Sony had to cancel the game. One of the rare times where not announcing a game too early worked out. But, I think you give him, this guy's an all-star. The reviews show that. I think he can be one of the top tycoons. You imagine that, Sony having Santa Monica now back, firing in all cylinders, and Naughty Dog, right? Guerrilla is stepping up into the game where the next Horizon could be a masterpiece in the 90s. Talking about 3 studios firing in all cylinders. I'm really hoping that the Sucker Punch next game, Ghost of Tsushima, delivers. Sucker Punch, they're always gonna be the jury's gonna be always out for Sucker Punch because all the games typically score in the 85s, 86. Don't remember they having a 90 in the Infamous games, but most of them are being there. So to get to that masterpiece Enshelon, Sucker Punch is still not there. The same with Ben Studios, Days Gone. Even that's the game that I'm more scared about on Sony's first party side of really being a dud in a sense. Hopefully I'm wrong. I'm really hoping that Ben pulls this through and delivers a great game. And of course you have Hideo Kojima, even though it's not a Sony studio. They signed Kojima. They signed him to a second party contract. So we'll see what they deliver. And then again, they always have worked so well with Insomniac, another second party studio. The guys who brought you Ratchet and Clank, great relationship. Now they're bringing you Spider-Man. We'll see Spider-Man delivers too and be in the masterpiece. So Sony's firing. So give this guy whatever he wants, Sony.
Yeah, and I mean that's going to be what they they should do. They already have this, like you said, they already have the engine, they already have everything set up. He already has the the next installment, pretty much written. So he can just act as like an executive producer would, like how Steven Spielberg acts on certain movies where he's not directing, he's just overseeing, making sure everything falls into place like it should, and that way he can just concentrate on working on something else. Like kind of like what Miyamoto used to do for a lot of Nintendo franchises. He would hover here and there, see how the teams were doing, but he wasn't necessarily working on each and every one of them, just overseeing over most of them. So yeah, I mean, like for somebody as talented as this and that has done a great job in making and made a great IP even greater, then he should definitely get a chance, and hopefully they can do a God of War 5 and have another new IP at the same time, which for Sony fans it would be great.
Yep, agreed. So Caliones, we're done with God of War. Well, we have a little bit of news later on, kind of indirectly related to God of War, but we'll talk to that later. But let's go with the big surprise of the week, Caliones.
Okay, so the big surprise was the Sega Festival, or Sega Fest, which took place basically yesterday and today. And they had a couple of announcements. One of the announcements was the Sega Ages, where which we discussed yesterday on the Getting and Get Out, which is a compilation of older Sega games, and it's going to be exclusive to the Switch. But one game that they announced that is going to receive the HD treatment is going to be for the PS4, Xbox One, and PC. Is going to be Shenmue 1 and 2. So yeah, the first Shenmue, when it came out on the Dreamcast, and the second one came out on the Xbox. So it was a Microsoft exclusive. Now, 1 and 2 are going to be coming out for all the system, which means that I believe Microsoft may have done some sort of deal. You were mentioning yesterday where Shenmue 3 seems to be like a like a PS4 and PC game, but with Shenmue 2 HD being available on the PS4. Maybe they made some sort of deals, to make Shenmue 3 available on Microsoft system. But yeah, but that was a big announcement. And I mean, how do you feel about the game? Because I played the first one, never played the second one, and I really enjoyed the first game. I really enjoyed the fighting, the training, even going over to the arcades and playing the mini games within the game world. To me that was it was great. It was exciting. And that was back when the Dreamcast came out, so they didn't necessarily had games before that you could have so many things in the game world that you could do and interact with. And I think this is one of the precursors to, what, I would say like Yakuza is right now, the Grand Theft Auto games is right now. So, like how you could go to so many places and do so many things. That's how Shenmue 1 started. So I'm very excited, and I really want to get my hands on them again.
Yep, so I'm really interested to playing this game. I've never played a Shenmue game. Oh my god, kill him! Pitchforks! The reason I have never played the Shenmue game is it's a game that I always wanted to play, but I never got around to play it, right? And the first game was in the Dreamcast. I never owned a Dreamcast. Caliones did own a Dreamcast, and he would bring it home once in a while, and we would play. But typically, I would watch him play Grandia. That's mostly the game that I watch him play. But I did play with him Phantasy Star Online. We did play that, and that was fun. That was kind of like the first online game experience for me. But what I would say is that, I always want interesting to play the games. It's my type of game. I like Japanese games. It is kind of like in that Yakuza realm, Caliones, right? So I think with the announcement of Shenmue 3, there's a lot of excitement. It is a niche franchise, so I think what Sega's hoping is to take advantage of the resurgence of Shenmue and maybe get some sales and maybe bring the franchise to a more of a mainstream, because it is a completely niche. I'm still even not sure that Shenmue 3 is going to sell that well. Even, I don't care if it was announced in the PlayStation E3, or it will be a console exclusive that I'm doing Dito marks because I hate that term. But it is what it is. I'm interested. So for me as a gamer, I'm happy that this HD collection, I will buy it. The HD collection came out. I guess the question to you, Caliones, being a big Switch supporter, is how do you feel that they did not make an announcement for the Nintendo Switch?
Okay, so the first thing I'll say is I feel very disappointed that it hasn't been announced for the Switch. Same reason I'm disappointed that Spyro hasn't been announced for the Switch yet. But for the same reason as Spyro, and to lesser extent, Crash, that it wasn't announced at the beginning and then shown on the Direct, I still hold out hope that because they're HD versions, they're not like a complete remake or remaster or something like that. It seems like to be like just an HD,
HD assets. That's it. It's not a remake. It's just assets.
So so I just feel like the system should be able to handle it, and that at some point it should be available there.
Switch should handle that. Come on, Switch should handle that. No issues at all.
Yeah. So it's and we're like we were talking before. It's until we see games that are made exclusively for the PS4 Pro or PS5 and the Xbox One X and above, and they stop making the games for the original PlayStation 4 or the Xbox One, then we should really see those games on the Switch in some form, even if they have to make some cuts or some concessions and things like that. Because even though the Switch is not as powerful, it's still close to it. To the way where they can make certain assets or the vision or how far you can see into the game. They can make certain cuts on there, so to accommodate it for the Switch. So I'll hold out hope that it's going to be there, but I'm still happy that it is being made because it didn't have to be made to begin with, you know. So I'm happy that I can somehow still get to play it, even if I get a PS4 for God of War and Spider-Man. I still have an Xbox, so I can still get it there and play them there. But I would like, of course, as a Nintendo fan, would love to have it on the Switch for myself and for Nintendo fans as well. But going over to the sales. So we're talking about how you feel about the Shenmue and the sales and that it is kind of like a niche franchise. And this is just glossing over VG charts. And this is for Yakuza. So Yakuza 3
Another niche
sold,
game, but continue. Yeah.
but it sold 1.12 million.
Yeah.
Then you
Good
have
number.
Yakuza 2 1.09 million. Then Yakuza 4 0.95 million. And Yakuza zero point 0.8, like 800,000 copies sold. So yes, it's not a multi-million, multi-million copy seller, but they're still getting close to the 1 million. So that's probably what we're gonna see with the Shenmue HD editions as well. It's probably gonna be games that get close to that 1 million copies sold.
And you have to remember, Yakuza is not an expensive game to make for Sega. I mean, Sega pumps those games out like yearly. So they're making the money. They're selling close enough that they'll make money. And this Shenmue HD, if they sell 1 million, Sega would be ecstatic because they will be making money. Now, Shenmue 3 could be a different case. We'll see how, because I know the director has a little bit of a reputation of going over budget. Let me put it that way. So we shall see with Shenmue 3. But Shenmue 1 and 2, maybe Sega can finally turn a profit. Because that was, if you guys may not know this, but Shenmue 2 was the most expensive game of all time during the PlayStation 2 era. So, or Xbox era, because it came on Xbox. But anyway, it was the most expensive game. So, we'll see, which we shall see, Caleones. Anyway, Caleones, we're both excited, looking forward to it. But go to the next piece of news.
And this is also coming from the Sega Festival, and it was the announcement of a new mini console to join the ones that are already out. But yeah, like you said, this is not one of those third-party consoles. This is coming directly from Sega, and is the Sega Mega Drive mini console, which was announced. It's going to come out in Japan in 2018. They haven't exactly said when it's going to come out outside of Japan, but so far, the console is looking good. It, like we said, it's made by Sega themselves, and hopefully it's going to have a really good assortment of games, and the quality of those games and sound hopefully will be up to standards as well. So, Nantes, well, you currently don't own the NES Classic Mini, and you don't own the Super NES Classic Mini either, but are you excited about the Sega Mega Drive Mini?
Yeah, I won't buy it because I got a Retron 5, which is the same reason I haven't bought a Super NES Mini or NES Mini. I like the physical. I got some Sega Genesis game here. I'm gonna show you. Look at that. I got a Sonic 3 right there. Look at that. I love the Sonic franchise on Sega. Sonic 2 still there too. Look at that. So I just like physical games. I like put it in my Retron. I got one more here. Vector Man right here. So and the Retron puts my games in HD already, so it's kind of nice, right, Calione? So it's hard for me to say, I'm excited, but I think it's gonna be a good a hot item. I don't think it's gonna sell as well as the NES Mini, but I think it will sell well enough, and I don't think Sega will be short staffing the system. It will try to make as many as it can to sell it. So we shall see. Are you excited, Caliones?
Yeah, I mean, the reason why I'm excited is because I mean, during my younger years, I was exclusively a Nintendo fan. So it was one of those things where
I had the one who had the Sega Genesis at the house.
Yeah, you were the one that had it. I didn't have it. You had the Sega the handheld,
I had the Game Gear. I had the
Gear.
Sega Genesis. Those are the two Sega systems that I own. I did not own the Master System, the original one, but my our cousin Jose Ilving owned the Sega Master System. So Sega has been in our family. At least someone owned it in the family.
Yeah, but the thing is that I know people complain about console wars right now. they have no idea about the console wars during the late 80s and 90s. About you were either a Super Nintendo or a Genesis fan. Like you would not be able to own both. It was a
Son,
bloodbath.
I had both. I always been a multi-console gamer. I had the Sega Genesis for my Bulls versus Blazers. I had it for Sonic. I had it for games like X-Men. I love the X-Men games on the Sega Genesis. Oh, Maximum Carnage, Spider-Man game. Awesome game. But then I had the Super NES. I had great games on the Super NES, like Super Mario World, Final Fight, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, the arcade. That was awesome playing on the Super NES.
Yep. But you also had the kind of like the some of the throwing punches and things like that. For example, say, oh, the Aladdin is better on the Sega system than it is on the Super Nintendo. Oh, Mortal Kombat has blood on the Genesis and it doesn't have blood on the Super NES. So things like that. Then you had the Super NES releasing Donkey Kong Country and those games with the silicon graphics. So it was a competition going back and forth. In between those, it was fun, but
yeah, but
my
don't remember
loyalty
taking it too
with Nintendo.
seriously because I defend the Super NES too because Super NES gave me Super Mario RPG. Fuck, I love that game during the Super NES era. So Super NES was killer. Super NES was an awesome system. Sega Genesis was a really good system too. But if you put them side by side, this is no fanboyism. Super NES was a better console, pure and simple. I truly believe that the games that the Super NES had were better than the Sega Genesis. Sega had the sports game, which at that time we were really into sports, which I'm not anymore, so that's why I don't care about sports game now. But at that time, it was playing Joe Montana football. It was playing, NBA Live, or it was called at that point Bulls versus Blazers, Bulls versus Lakers. It was a great system, but I like the Sega. And then Sonic, at some point, I had the crazy idea that Sonic was a better game because I love Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles than Super Mario World. But now if you grow up, you really think you're like, no, Super Mario World is a way better game than Sonic 3 and Sonic and Knuckles. But yeah, it was fun, talking shit. But again, that was the fun part. I had this say, I own both suckers. I can switch around whatever I want. And please, I mean, it wasn't that I was rich. To clarify, my dad was not rich. It was just lucky enough that I always save my money. Every single dollar I would save, and then we would try to get the console. I put it that way.
Well, I'll say like the game that made me do a double take because I loved how it looked on the Sega Genesis was Vector Man. I believe that game had amazing graphics.
I showed it. Yep.
Yeah,
I still got it. I still got it right here on the back. But yeah, Spectrum Man was cool. It was cool. Like I said, that's the fun part. That's why I don't buy those systems because I plug it in the back on the Retron 5. It turns out HD. I'm good to go. And I like the physical aspect. But I think this item is gonna sell. And like Caleone says, it was fun when we were kids, and you can see the console wars instead of the internet. It was more in the schoolyards. I guess you could put it that way.
Yeah, but hey, I would love to get the Genesis because I mean I haven't played most of those games because of not owning the system and having my loyalty to the Nintendo system. So I'll be more than happy putting the Sega Mega Drive Mini next to my Super NES Mini.
So, question, I didn't hear the announcement. Is the Sega Mega Drive Mini is gonna be like the Super NES Mini, where it comes with a set of games, but you cannot plug in physical games, or can you plug in physical games in this one? I don't remember.
Well, from what they have announced, they haven't exactly said. If it's going to be plugging or not. It looks like it won't be. And just to read the announcement, it just says that it was announced during the company's annual Sega Fest. They showed a picture of the console and a close-up image of it. Details regarding the games will be included. They haven't said what games are going to be included in there. And exactly how it's going to work, like if it's going to be HDMI, compatible or things like that. Our thoughts is that because they're emulating the NES Mini and Super NES Mini, that is going to be the same principle where you have the HDMI connection, you have the improved graphics. Hopefully, they'll give you like different graphical settings, so you can do it like the box TVs, or you can do the like the 16:9 resolution and things like that. So hopefully they'll give you those options. But so far it seems like it will be like the Super NES Mini and NES Mini, to where you cannot put cartridges.
Okay, I think if Sega does that, that can have a one up against the NES and Super NES Mini. But we shall see, Caliones.
Yeah.
Anyway, we're 40 minutes in, so let's go to the next piece of news. A lot of topics to discuss today.
Okay, and we're trying to do the how do you call it on the Getting and Get Out,
The
when we try to
Onuma's
do it,
news burst.
the newsverse. So we're gonna try to do a newsverse version of this one. But okay, so we have God of War releasing on the Sony PlayStation 4. We had a big release for Microsoft, Sea of Thieves, which hasn't really scored as high or close to it.
Is it at 69 right now?
It's somewhere close to it. But the good
I'm hoping
news
it stays
for
at 69. Just saying. Anyway, keep going.
well, it's we know Dantes, but yeah, I mean the game's going to be releasing it's going to be receiving additional content pretty soon. And aside from receiving receiving additional content, they're going to have weekly events which are going to be starting in May. And they were talking about adding an end game to the game as well, because right now it's open ended and you don't really have anything to work towards except for just grinding, collecting coins, buying gear, buying stuff for your ship, and doing it over and over and over again. So they said they're going to be fixing AI and adding additional enemies as well. So hopefully they'll continue to populate the game world and add more stuff to it, because the game is full of potential. But right now it just feels like an early access type of game where it's a work in progress, kind of like the same way that No Man's Sky felt when it came out on the PlayStation. So it feels the same way. And I got bad news for you. There's 68 Metacritic score right now, so it did go down.
Damn it. Anyway, the only thing I'm gonna say is, like you said, we're gonna do a little bit of Numa's news burst here, but the thing I'm gonna say is they better hurry with the content, Caliones, because if they don't hurry, this game is going to turn into like a cemetery where no one's going to be there playing the game. And this game needs the extra content. It happened to No Man's Sky. It was too late when they added all the stuff. Right now, the small people who play No Man's Sky say it's a great game, but it could be too little too late. The same thing could happen to Sea of Thieves if they don't hurry and add the content. At some point, maybe in 1 year, the two people who are still playing the game are going to say this game is awesome. But now is your chance to sell the game. Now is your chance that you better bring that content, I would say, in a month if you can. If not, it's going to hurt the game going forward.
And yes, they have to, because Microsoft has so much money invested into this game. They were hoping that this game was going to be one of those, first party titles that was going to be able to fill a void that it seems that they had for like the past year or so. So aside from Forza releasing, and you had Halo Wars, Halo Wars 2, which underperformed as well. They really don't have anything else. And the the games that they're receiving, is coming out on the Sony consoles as well. So there's not really any big incentive for you to get an Xbox console unless you're talking about maybe backwards compatible games and things like that. So they need to hurry up and work on this one. I'm glad that they gave it as part of the Game Pass, and you can play it, like with it, because I'm pretty sure that's some of they were talking about the game had X amount of million players, playing it, and it had a bunch of players on Twitch as well. But because of the content being short and not much to do, a lot of people have been dropping, and they need to fix this quick, because it was getting a lot of tracking at first. It was the most played game on Twitch before it released, and when it first released. But it's had a nosedive because it doesn't have anything. I mean, you can't do anything. There's no end game or anything like that. So they need to hurry up and do something about it. And I'm glad they are. It sounds like they are.
Agreed.
Okay, and going over to the next one. This is the F-bomb dropping guy from the Game Awards. He even criticized his own publisher, which is EA, and we're talking about the game A Way Out, which has passed 1 million copies sold. What is amazing to me is that this game, it is a two-player co-op game it is a couch co-op, which means that basically you cannot play the game unless you're playing it with somebody else, and you cannot play it with somebody else unless that other person is sitting next to you because you cannot play it online. So they're forcing you to play with somebody next to you, and it still has done amazingly. So I'm glad that they have a great game out there. I know that it is by quote unquote EA, even though EA is just really publishing it. But yeah, the game has been doing great. So how do you feel about the game, Dantes?
Happy, maybe it shows EA when you don't do the crap that you do, you get hits. You don't have to have multi-million, 9, 10 million seller to be happy, EA. I'm still not gonna support the game. It's an EA game. It's just me right now with my stance with EA, but I'm happy. Maybe it shows something. Maybe EA starts investing in experiences like this. Not every game has to be cost millions and millions of dollars to make it a AAA. You can make smaller games and have good sales. So happy for the game.
Yeah, and the game is only $29.99, so you can get it for the PS4 and Xbox One. So if you guys have friends and don't have like online friends, you have like real friends, like flesh and blood friends that you can bring
No one
to
has
your
real
house and
friends in
invite them.
today's days.
So,
Just saying.
but yeah, if you do, it's Boomer, the Xbox master that the ones that we had last year during the Xbox One reveal, One X reveal. He played the game, he finished it with his friend, and he said, if you and me, if we can get on the same room and we can play it, that we definitely should because he had a lot of fun, and it is a really fun game.
Okay, maybe someday we'll stream it on the channel. We shall see. So go ahead, Caliones, with the next piece of news.
Okay, so the next one is we're going over to the Star Wars Battlefront 2, and they said that microtransactions will return to Star Wars Battlefront 2 next week. So when the game first released, they were. I mean, one of the big stories about the game was the microtransactions and loot boxes and things like that were included in there. Then they had news about how the game underperformed, and it did not get to the 10 million copies sold that they were looking for. And now they had removed the microtransactions and they're adding them again to the game. But it seems like the biggest complaint at first was that the microtransaction and loot boxes they actually gave players an advantage. So they gave you an advantage in game to over other players. So it seems like they have removed that. It's more so like cosmetics and things like that. But at the same time, they're gonna have the Endor update, which is gonna be going live in 3 days on the 18th, and that update is gonna give you a lot of content. So what people need to be reminded of is that Star Wars Battlefront 2, EA decided to have the game updates for free because they didn't want to like separate the crowds of the game because of DLC. So on the original Star Wars Battlefront, you had to pay DLC. So if you got the paid DLC, you had additional maps and things like that. But for players that got that, the players that didn't get it would not be on the rotation to be able to play with those other players. So they were basically separating their own crowd, and that's something that they wanted to keep from happening on Star Wars Battlefront 2. That's why all the updates are free, but they have added the microtransactions again to be able to continue to fund those additional updates or free updates that they have continued doing.
Quickly, it's that guy 69. 69 has joined us in the chat. Shout out to him. Love saying his name. So what up, my friend? Anyway, with that said, to clarify the difference, though, this is just microtransactions, straight out microtransactions. If you want to buy something, you just buy it. It is not loot boxes. And to that extent, it is cosmetics. Still sucks. I still hate microtransactions. So I still, again, hope the game still suffers. EA deserves a lesson. So this is, if they want to do it right, why don't they do like Shadow of War, where they just took it completely away? But, well, it is. It's all good, EA. You can do what you want. Hopefully the game still keeps selling like crap. Anyway, Kyle, let's go. Next piece of news.
Okay, so going over with the next one, and this is like we were talking about console wars and things like that, but we had Phil Spencer, which is basically the boss of Xbox One. He's the boss of everything in Microsoft when it comes to the Xbox, and he congratulated Sony on the review score. So I mean, he did go over to on Twitter and he said, "Congrats at Sony Santa Monica and." YOSP on review scores and the upcoming launch of God of War looks like a special launch for the franchise. Great job. Which where Shuhei Yoshida replied, "Thanks, Phil." So this is showing you the lighter side of the console wars. This is the boss of Microsoft congratulating their supposed mortal enemies in Sony for a great game, great review scores, and what should be a great release. Should we just eliminate console wars? Is this something on the lighter side that everybody else should be embracing, or is this just smokes and mirrors, Dantes?
No, I mean that's fine. Phil can congratulate all the people he won. I'm still never buying an Xbox. Well, I own an Xbox, but I would only buy it for 4K Blu-ray player. Anyway, with that said, I think it's fine. Joking aside, Phil, I don't know. I'm more disappointed in the people who were like attacking him and saying instead of congratulate Sony and stop sucking Sony's cock. And I know I said bad words, but that was the type of tweets they were writing. You should be worrying about your own Xbox system, right? And again, some people take the console war too seriously. I don't know. I feel bad for Phil. He was trying to say, and Sony has done it too. Sony congratulated Microsoft when the Xbox One X, came out. A lot of people were saying, well, Sony never congratulates Microsoft on the games when they come out. And what do you want them to congratulate? You want them to congratulate a 68 or 69 of Sea of Thieves? Because then Caleones brought a point we were talking, I think it was outside of here. He said it would feel like Sony's mocking, Microsoft, and then Xbox fanboys would be turning around. Oh, look at Sony! They're mocking us because our game only has a 68 Metacritic score right now. So I think this is fine. Phil, I don't trust Microsoft because Microsoft is the first company that will try to run you over if it can. To be the number one in the world and which whatever company does, that's what they're trying to do, is try to be number one. So I don't blame it. It's just, Microsoft still has a lot of ways to go. And another tweet from Ryan McAfee from IGN explaining how Xbox fans are dying to get an exclusive the same caliber as God of War on their system. And that it's going to take time. And then Phil answered back saying it's going to take time to get there. But again, the problem is Xbox they're been in the industry for many, many years now, over 17 years, Caleones. Nintendo and Sony from out of the gate brought you exclusives to your systems. So to say that, I think it's still that Microsoft really don't believe or spend that much money in their first-party content. Because they're to them, and you can see it on their strategy, their approach is services. The way they're selling you the system is services, and with Game Pass and stuff like that, BC is a great service in a sense. It's not a service per se, but it's a great feature in the console because that means that your Xbox will always play all the games backwards, so you can own those games forever and ever in a sense, which is great feature. But you can see where Microsoft is going. I'm always being a gamer in the sense that I buy the consoles that gives me the games I like, pure and simple. There's not fanboys in black and white. I buy Nintendo consoles because I love Zelda, I love Xenoblade, I love Mario. I'm not always going to play those games. And I buy Sony consoles because, again, I love their exclusives. I love Uncharted. I love The Last of Us. I love God of War. And at the same time, with Sony, at least I can play all the third-party games if I'm interested in any third-party game that is coming out. So I'm happy with those two consoles. So for me, Microsoft doesn't give me anything at all. Those features, I don't care. I understand backwards compatibility is a great feature, and hopefully Sony will bring it. It should bring it and at least give them credit. They're trying to implement crossplay between consoles, but again, that's easy to do when you are on third place, almost in a sense, even though they're in second place still. Well, yeah, second place, I guess you could put it if we go by generations, with the Wii U being third. But it is what it is. When you're in that position, you're trying to do more consumer friendly approach, because they didn't do that on the 360, because they were the first one who were like, in behind the paywall. Netflix is behind the paywall. You need an Xbox Live account to do Netflix, and really for Netflix and stuff like that Microsoft did in the past. But that's what happens when you winning, and they were winning, at least in software sales, in a sense. So it is what it is. But anyway, I'm fine with it. Just stop being fanboys. And if you spend too much time on Twitter attacking other people over video games, I would recommend you look better at your life and do something better about it, and just go out, see the sun. I don't know, drink, get drunk, whatever. Just do something better than that. Anyway, I don't know if you had any thoughts about my rant, Cali.
Well, I'll say, like, when it comes to Microsoft, they already have a great foundation. When it comes to game exclusives. So you have the Halo franchise, which, to me, Halo franchise, when it comes to space, and space, first-person shooter, things like that, is probably above any other space franchise out there. It's above Resistance, and it's above anything else from any other console, by far. Then you have the Gears of War. Gears of War is another franchise that is, it transcends a lot of games. You have the Forza. Forza right now, it's better than Gran Turismo or any other racing games. I know it's probably not as good as Mario Kart, but they're completely different games. This one's are realistic. Mario Kart is more arcadey, so they're different games. But when it comes to a head-to-head in between Forza and Gran Turismo, Forza is the best franchise out there. So they have a good foundation of games that they can build on. These are games that they're releasing every year, every 2 years, 3 years, but they need to start complementing this, and they need to stop canceling games. Like, I know that they had Quantum Break, but how much money did they spend on Quantum Break? This is a game that had a bunch of live action scenes that cost a lot of money, and they shouldn't have.
Yeah, I was gonna say quickly. They're the reason they canceled Scalebound.
Scalebound.
Quantum Break,
Yes.
not Quantum Break. Quantum Break got released. It didn't do great either. But Scalebound, they canceled Scalebound because they tried to force online multiplayer on the game, and Platinum Games is known for single player experiences, and this is where Phil gets shit on because of the comments that he say. Now he's trying, because he's seeing his ass kicked by Nintendo and Sony. Now he's saying, no, we want to bring single player experiences, but again, he keeps saying it with a multiplayer element. That's Microsoft. You have to take it. That's where, if you're a multiplayer game and you only play multiplayer games and you don't care about exclusives, buy an Xbox console, be happy, and stop tweeting and being so defensive on Twitter. If you're like me, who likes single player games, Sony and Nintendo gives me what I need. I don't need anything else. I'm more than happy. So again, Scalebound, in my opinion, is Microsoft's own fault, because they tried to push something that is not on the DNA of a Platinum Games. But keep going to your rant. Sorry about that, Carlos.
Well, and I'll say and to your point, when it comes to Microsoft, most of the players that own like an Xbox console, like you said, they're mostly multiplayer type gamers, and that's why games, when they actually have a good game, a worthwhile game like Sunset Overdrive, which is a game that should be doing great, because it's actually a really good game, it doesn't do great because people or gamers, Microsoft gamers, they're not really looking for those type of games on a Microsoft console. So that's where it's hurting. And they need to do something about it. I know, like, they had Cuphead. Cuphead did great. It won, a lot of awards this past season, but it's not a AAA game. It's not like an indie game where they actually got lucky that they had it on theirs. So, yes, they need to do something right now. We're already in April. We haven't really heard of any other releases. Crackdown, it seems like
State of Decay, which is kind of like an indie game, and then Crackdown 3, which is, again, we haven't heard anything about it. But I mean, I'm not throwing shades on indie. Indies are great games too. If State of Decay sells well and becomes like this year's Cuphead from Microsoft, hey, good for them. But at the same time, to your points, Sunset Overdrive could have been a game that it could sell. But here's the other problem, though. Sony in the past have lost money letting their developers make games that are single player. Maybe they don't sell as well, but they give them other chances, right? And Microsoft is just too quick with the axe. It's just Sunset Overdrive. Nope, we're good. We don't care. They let go Remedy. Let him go. Remedy going forward is gonna do multi-platform games because again Microsoft Quantum Break did not sell well. Instead of maybe buying Remedy and flourish them and making them grow like Sony has done with Guerrilla Games, right? Killzone 1 sucked. Killzone 2 was a great game, and then you start seeing the growth of Guerrilla Games, right? But Microsoft is just too quick with the axe. That's my problem with them. Like, they're too quick with the axe instead of letting developers fail. I mean, you're talking about Sucker Punch, who were Sly Cooper's old developer, right? And then they go into Infamous, and now they're doing a Ghost of Tsushima, which could be the game that take them to the next level. See, that's letting them fail, letting them grow. And I'm not saying Sly Cooper's a bad game. I like Sly Cooper games. I'm just saying that you can see the difference from Sly Cooper to Infamous to now Ghost of Tsushima, right?
Naughty Dog, same thing.
Yeah. Which ones was that? Sorry?
Naughty Dog.
Oh, yeah, Naughty Dog, of course. Crash, Jack, and now they're one of the top developers right there with Nintendo and Rockstar. Right there. That's like the three echelons are Naughty Dog, Nintendo, and Rockstar. You have to say it. But that's where Sony let them develop. Nintendo themselves, to their credit, they don't fire anywhere if they can. They struggle a lot with the Wii U. Iwata sacrificed his own salary to keep people around. That shows you the difference of loyalty, right? And the Japanese culture. And then they grow and build, and then you have Miyamoto passing the torch to newer developers. And now you see this year, I like something on Nintendo that I haven't even given props, and my bad, is I see them putting in the forefront their new developers on the minis now, on the directs, and showing that those are the future. Those are letting them, and Nintendo, even though a lot of people give them shit for new IPs, they haven't done new IPs. In the last couple of years, Nintendo at least is trying to bring new IPs, which it was a big criticism from Nintendo. But they're trying. You got Splatoon, you got ARMS. So Nintendo is trying to foster a little bit of newer IPs. So you have to give them credit. They're trying. So again, that's fostering development. And that's where Microsoft gets crap because they don't foster it. They just quickly does the axe. It's over, whatever. Lost Remedy. They lost Bungie. Right, Caliones? Because they wanted them to keep doing Halo. Microsoft does not care. Sony can step back and says, okay, Uncharted is selling, it's close to 10 million copies sold on Uncharted. But Sony's letting Naughty Dog do what they want. They said, we're done with Uncharted. Now, Sony, supposedly the rumors are that they're building a new studio to make an Uncharted game. But Sony's not coming to Naughty Dog. No, you are doing Uncharted like Microsoft did to Bungie, that you're gonna do Halo, and then Bungie said, "No, we're done. Let's do whatever it takes to break this contract off." And because Microsoft could have had Destiny, Caliones, could have had Destiny as an exclusive. That's crazy to say how big Destiny is now. Anyway, it's just that's the frustration. Why I think I'm never gonna be an Xbox fan because I see stuff like that, and you're like, whatever. I'm not your type of gamer. It's better put that way. I'm not your type of gamer. So
yeah, but I don't know. Like it seems like whenever you have big releases on an Xbox system, they don't really fork the money to try to keep those companies. So for example, like Mass Effect, it was an Xbox exclusive because before it became multi-platform with the second part. Titanfall was another one. It was an Xbox exclusive before it became a multi-platform game. Yeah, like afterwards. So they should really. I mean, whenever you have those, type of games, just fork the money. It doesn't matter if you end up losing, like money at first, but you have those big franchises that you only have, and you say like, and Destiny. It may not have the greatest Metacritic score, but Destiny is a huge game. Yeah. It's a huge game. And can you imagine Microsoft having that game just to themselves? I would say like to the point where Destiny sells consoles. It will sell millions and millions of consoles. And especially if now with the Xbox One X and the optimizations and things like that, Microsoft would be able to dominate the first-person shooter genre. I know you still have the Call of Duties and those, but having Destiny an exclusive would be game-changing. But again, they did not put the money first and to try to keep those companies happy. And like you said, and allow those companies to make what they wanted to make, and instead force them to continue to make something, and ultimately they ended up leaving. So that's something that is wrong with them. Just, I mean, like you said, like Sony, oh, we want to continue making Uncharted games, so we'll just make a new studios, and you just do whatever you want. That's what Microsoft should have done with them.
Yep. I agree 100%. We're at an hour and 4. Today, a lot of topics. So let's go to the next piece of news.
Well, we got two more pieces of news. So the next one is going to be that a new Splinter game has possibly been teased in Sam Fisher's Ghost Recon Wildlands appearance. So Sam Fisher is making a Ghost Recon Wildlands appearance, and they're saying that this is the first step into a big, I mean, Splinter Cell game being announced, somewhere around E3.
Yep.
I know, that like Snake is not around anymore, so you don't really have the proper Metal Gear game. So this is going to be your, tactical espionage title that we're missing, because this is a genre that we don't really have anywhere else, and it's. I mean, this is going to be an important title if it comes out.
More than Metal Gear is dead now, but I was gonna say. A lot of rumors is that Microsoft landed the deal for Splinter Cell and a couple, like 2 more or 3 games, where they'll have the promotional rights for the game, which Microsoft needs to do, and that's where you see the shift. Now Microsoft knows they're struggling with their first party output, so now they're putting the more money into the into a third party games, where Sony was doing that in a sense, and they were spending, again, I brought that story yesterday where Yoshida explained why they did not promote Until Dawn, their own exclusive, because they had money set aside to promote, Battlefront, Call of Duty, and stuff like that. And thank God that YouTubers promoted the game. If not, we would have lost in a gem like Until Dawn, right? But my point to that is that now Microsoft now is moving into that, because they're struggling with their first party output, and they need to do that. If they can, they should maybe even. And I know people hate. I hate time exclusives, but it is what it is. If you need to spend some money and have like a Splinter Cell time exclusive for a couple of months, 6 months at least, do it, Microsoft, because right now you need anything. Right now, in the mindset of the industry, you're in third place. It sounds bad, but even though you're not in third place, again, generations are split. We use third place, but in the mindset of people, a lot of people think the Switch is already second place. And the Switch, the games that they're being producing, they're being saying, even though, and this is the truth, I know you're a Nintendo fan, you may not like what I'm going to say, but Microsoft still puts more games on their console than what Nintendo puts on their console. That is the truth, right? They put more AAA games because they get third-party support. But the perception is that Nintendo is giving you the games because they've been delivering on their first-party games, and now in the mindset of people, Microsoft is like in third place. So Microsoft needs to do whatever it takes to have those deals. So the mindset of people, Splinter Cell, Xbox first, whoa, and whatever. I think Battlefield, the next Battlefield is gonna be also have the marketing rights of Xbox. Sell that shit. Do stuff like that. Whatever it takes, Microsoft, because you're losing this generation. You have lost the most ground out of all the systems, and you can use the Nintendo as an example. You can come back from it. Nintendo Wii U was bad. Nintendo came back and then showing you what you can how you can come back out of darkness, if you can put it that way. So again, you have to work on it. But anyway, Calinas, go ahead. Sorry about that.
No, I mean, I was just gonna say that. I mean, you're completely right. So when it comes to it, I mean, it's more evident when the holiday season comes around and you start seeing, for example, the Madden games, and then you see the Call of Duty games, the Battlefield games, the Star Wars Battlefront games, and you start seeing those that are not coming to a Nintendo system. So yes, I mean, those games, the Xbox is getting it and not the Nintendo system. But the problem with the Xbox is that they're going neck and neck against the PlayStation, and the PlayStation is not only getting those third-party games, but they're offering people a lot more first-party titles that the Xbox is not, and that's where they're suffering. So yeah, I mean, when it comes to third-party games, Microsoft does have more than the Switch, but yes, the perception is that yes, even though it has it, the Switch is not the direct competition of the Xbox. It is Sony, and that's the problem they had, because Sony is launching God of War, is launching Ghost of Tsushima is going to be launching Spider-Man, Days Gone, and all of those big first-party titles, and they're still going to get those third-party titles that Microsoft is getting, but it's those first-party titles that are making the difference in between them. So, they need to do something. Like you said, they're trying to fork the money now for the marketing rights and things like that. I believe FIFA is probably going to be another one where they're going to have the marketing rights for. They said Call of Duty and Battlefield, but those two franchises kind of go like one against the other. So it's going to be. I still believe it'll be surprising if they get the marketing rights to both of them. But FIFA is probably going to be a big one, and more so because if you heard a couple of months ago where they had the FIFA 18 championships and they had to change from the Sony consoles to the Microsoft console because Sony was having issues with their network. So that's probably what ended up, like breaking the deal with FIFA and Sony and moving over to Microsoft instead. So that'll be a big one if they can get it. But they still gonna need to do more, and they still need to release their first party releases and make those first party releases worthwhile.
I'm gonna say something that you brought up, trigger in my brain. You said something, and it triggered. So Nintendo is in the best spot because either you buy it as a Nintendo gamer because that's your main console, but Nintendo is also bought as a system because it's the greatest secondary console that you can have because you get great exclusives. Plus, being
Same as the Wii.
Yeah. Plus the Switch being portable. Again, you can take gaming on the go. You make it's attractive, right? Then now we go to PlayStation, in second place in a sense of this attractiveness. PlayStation has exclusives that many people, including Xbox gamers, buy a PlayStation as a secondary console because they want to play the God of War. They want to play Spider-Man. So then Microsoft is let out. No one wants to buy it as a secondary console. You either buy an Xbox because you're an Xbox gamer and that's the only thing you'll do, and you love the ecosystem, you love the online, how the Xbox Live is still the number one online system or console in the industry. So if you like that ecosystem, that's your main console. That is it. But as a PlayStation gamer, as a Nintendo gamer, right, as a PC gamer even more, why would you buy Xbox as your secondary console? There's no reason to buy Xbox as your secondary console. More if you're a PC gamer. There's no reason to buy but as a PC gamer, there's a lot of damn good reasons to buy a Switch. There's a lot of damn good reasons to buy a PlayStation, right? Even though that's not your main platform. So Xbox, that's why Xbox is not a system seller worldwide. It never has been, never will, because it is, you either ride with Xbox, you buy it as your main console, and that's it. Because again, there's no reason for me personally to buy it as a secondary console. But hey, Caliones, I have a Switch, and there's a lot of damn good reasons why Nintendo is my secondary console. And I don't say it in a bad way. I'm saying a good way. The games in Nintendo are awesome enough that they make me spend money in their ecosystem. So anyway, just saying.
Yeah. I mean, probably the biggest compliment that you can give the Nintendo Switch is that, like you said, last week was the first time you got a platinum this year because you were only playing Nintendo Switch games, basically. So,
Yep.
But yeah, I mean, you make a great point about Xbox not being bought as a secondary console because, pretty much the exclusives are not really there. Yes, you have the Halo, Forza, but that's about it. And you don't really buy a console for just one or two games. It's more so for a collection of games that you cannot get anywhere else. But moving over to the last piece of news that we have, and this is coming from Overkill. They released a new trailer for the brand new games, and if you don't know Overkill, they're the makers of Payday. They make great games, great co-op games, and it seems like their new game, the Walking Dead game, is going to be another co-op masterpiece. So hopefully that's going to be the case. And it seems like, even though they haven't showed gameplay yet, but the production value when it comes to the cinematics and things like that lets you know that you have a big developer working on a big franchise, and hopefully will be a great game as well. And hey, Dantes, maybe if they have online co-op on this one, maybe it will be one that we can tackle together.
Yes, we said it. We may stream it. A little bit gory for the kids at home, but we may look at it. But Caliones, that's it, because even Toys and More Club saying, oh, this live is so long. Yes, Toys and More Club, today we went overtime, 13 minutes. Typically we like to keep it in an hour, But today, there was like a lot of good topics. I thought this show was really good. There was a lot of fun and good topics to discuss. But with that said, Caliones, let's kick it out of here. Boom. Go ahead, man. There you go. I want to thank everybody for watching Force In Unison Live, episode 26, right here at the Force In Unison Gaming channel every Sunday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. Even though today we start at 9 p.m. Hey, we keep it at 9 p.m. Eastern Time. Anyway, I'll talk to Caliones about that. Also, please remember to subscribe, like, and comment so you can make these two crazy MFs happy. Also, remember, we do have a Nintendo podcast called the Get In and Get Out Nintendo Podcast every Saturday, 9:30 p.m. Eastern Time. You can get that podcast on SoundCloud and iTunes for free. Also, go to the description box below because we have 2 more shows that I haven't explained. But it is Mondays, Xenoblade Mondays, and of course Wednesdays, Streaming Wednesdays with Inkling G and Caliones. And also, hi, we have a Facebook page, Caliones. Once in a while we go in there, but please go in there so you guys give us a like over there. Yeah, makes us happy. And finally, and Dantes says finally, go to chiguerosnews.com and get some clicks and love to my boy Caliones. With all that said, thank you again for joining us. Good night, everybody, and long live gaming. See you guys.